It feels so weird to be on the final episode of the case study of Vanitas, doesn't it? Hey, it's Romania Black, and yeah, I couldn't wait. I was like, I need to find out what happens because you can't end an episode like that and then expect me to wait several weeks. No, no. So it's so weird because we're at the season finale of the case study of Vanitas, and I'm used to series doing either one of two things. I'm used to a series either ending completely, or I'm used to a series being done and then we wait for the next season, right? And so in this case, I'm hoping there's a second season. I'm hoping that there is, but I don't know. This season just came out last year. So if there is a second season in the works, it will be a while. Because as I've been told, the manga is just now getting off of hiatus, so it's gonna be a bit. I feel like this is kind of a Bungo Stray Dogs scenario where there is probably going to be a second season, but it's gonna be way down the line, right? Which is very sad because I've come to really like the Case de Vanitas. Y'all recommended it for me, and I can see why. I really like it, but it's going to be a while. So the good thing is the next 2 weeks after this episode is over, next week I'm going to be looking at volumes 1 through 5, which is essentially the first core, and like looking at the manga, talking about it, talking about differences, things like that. I'm not exactly sure the structure of it, but going to talk about that. And then I've heard there are some changes in volumes 6 through 10, so I'm going to be looking at that the following week. So, but then I'll be caught up with the manga and the anime, so then it'll just be a waiting game until we get like another season of Vanitas, because I really like the anime. I kind of want to wait on the anime. I know it may take forever, but we have tons of anime to watch in the meantime, so I can be patient because I've got a plethora of other series to get through. So, but I do like this series. It reminds me a lot of if Seraph of the End and Moriarty the Patriot had a baby. That's kind of the series, but I love it, and I just don't want it to end on a sad note. I mean, the only thing that will make me slightly feel better is knowing that, okay, there's still more story to come. The story's not going to end here, because we've not even touched on Ruthven. Not even touched on him. Not even touched on Luca's brother. Nania is out of the picture. Like, we have all of these threads that are not even... They've not even been contingencyed. They're not even like expanded upon, that are going to have to be dealt with later. Noe's vow, we don't know when that's going to take effect. Noe supposedly kills Vanitas. Is that going to happen this episode, or is it going to be something later? I think it's something later. I don't know. But at least Jean's there battling Domi. Domi is under the control of Mihail. Noe believes he has to... Vanitas believes that his self-hypnosis is kicked in and he has to like kill Noe because he's trying to suck his blood. We don't know the full story of the Blue Moon Vampire. I hope, if anything, this episode gives us backstory on what happened with the Blue Moon Vampire with Luna, but I don't know if that's going to happen. So I'm in this bittersweet limbo of, I'm sad that the season is ending, but I know this is not the end because there's too many loose threads to wrap up. So what do we do? But I'm really excited to get started with this episode. I just couldn't wait. I wanted to see it, but I don't know what to think. So, but we'll find out. But I want to give you guys so much thanks for recommending this series for me, for voting on it. I want to give a special shout out to our philanthropy tier over on Patreon. These people have helped me to buy the manga that I'm going to be reading the next 2 weeks. So thank you, because I want to support the official release. So thank you to Edgar, to Dana, to Alex Cornejo, to Kiri, to Be Happy, to Shimoyama, to Nameless Monster, to Ashy Gots No Bitches, to Trails, to Matthew Palfinier, as well as to Goob, to Anna, to Translucent Men, to Sunspots, to Eric, to Anime Annie, and Tyrone. Thank you all so much for everything you guys have done and all of your support. And thank you, Patreon, YouTube, for your support as well. All of my love. So yeah, I don't like sad endings, and I feel like this is going to be a sad season ending, so I'm going to brace myself for that, but we'll cross that threshold when we get there, right? So we're going to start the case study of Vanitas, episode 24. And we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's do this. Well, that was all of the shipping I needed. Yay! So yeah, that definitely felt like it did not feel like a series finale. It felt like a season finale because I want to bring White Working up because we have lots of things that we still have not had answered, that we still need more explanation upon. I thought the shapeless one was their cat. Because he has the blue and the purple eye. And I was like, well, Myrrh has the blue and the purple eye, so who knows? Maybe the shapeless one's been watching Noe and Vanitas through the cat this entire time. Who knows? Maybe the cat is... he calls them mon chatons, like my kittens, so maybe he can turn... He's the shapeless one, so maybe he can become something. And he has like the little black cat following him at the end. Who knows? That was a good resolution. But I'm very curious to see what the manga looks like because I don't know. Which again, this series has had some kind of shonen-y tropes thrown in it. There's a shonen trope that I'm not the biggest fan of, and that is that the villain of the series, like they do something that's power hungry and it makes them become a monster. Like they become power hungry and they become a monster. Like in Bleach, a lot of times the villains in Bleach would just become bigger monsters. And that's kind of what Mihel does in this. Although, Mihel explains later that the more they use the book, the less human they become. The more it tampers and alters their formulaic presence. And the more they become something else. Whether it's a vampire, whether it's something else. We don't know. And that would kind of explain why Luna looks the way that they do by the time that they meet them. So that is very interesting. And Noe now knows this and is like, But Vanitas is like, I'm going to stay human until the end, even as my presence and my entire person is altered. And at the end of the day, look, y'all, I ain't going to judge you if you ship Noe. If you ship Noe and Domi, if you ship Jean and Vanitas, I'm not going to judge you a bit. There was that moment where they're up on the Ferris wheel and Domi and Jean are like, we got to save our men. And it's like, yeah, you know, if you want to save your boyfriends, cool. I will not judge anybody if they ship those two together. Won't judge them at all. But for the season finale, it's like, it was pretty clear to me that it was like Noe and Vanitas and Jean and Domi. Like that, those two. Noe did not have a moment with Domi at the end, which I was kind of sad about. I would like Domi and Noe to have had a moment to talk about Louis. I hope in the manga they get the opportunity to do that, and maybe in season 2 they can kind of have this conversation of, hey, let's talk about Louis, let's talk about you. But we didn't get a Jean and Vanitas moment at the end. No, instead, Domi and Jean were talking it out and explaining things, which I'm glad for Domi. I'm glad Domi got to tell Jean everything. She's like unburden herself because she needed to. She needed to talk to somebody, right? Needed to tell somebody about all this. But the Noe and Vanitas shipping in this episode, I mean, it was everything I wanted. I was like, yes, absolutely. And I'm sorry, the whole thing where Vanitas is like, the only one who can kill me is Noe. To me, that was basically Wei Wuxian telling Lan Wangji and Modao Zushi, you're the only person that can take me down. That's literally the same thing. And you expect me not to ship them and believe they're canon? Oh, okay. It's the same. Exactly the same. Same types of shipping. Yes, indeed. But let's talk about this episode. I am so glad. I love the idea that Noe just kind of let his guard down and let his hand drop there at the end. Not because he was stabbed, but because he wasn't going to fight Vanitas. He's like, I'm not going to fight you. I just let it happen if you're going to kill me. And then Vanitas didn't do it. He couldn't kill Noe because he cares about him. It's like, what's the one thing that can trump self-hypnosis? Love, damn it! It's love, damn it! I was like, yes. And the fact that Vanitas cried over him, cried on his shoulder, just let him be embraced and kind of went limp on Noe's chest. Come on, y'all. Come on! You know, that was so well done. My fangirl heart was just exploding. And then him just crying, being like, damn it, I can't kill you. And then Noe, of course, is like, forgive me, I'm sorry. Because I'm so glad we settled this in the beginning of the episode. Like, both of them realizing we were being complete bakas. We're just causing a scene. We're having a gay breakup, as Gin would say. We're just having this gay breakup right here. Let's stop this now. There's no reason for this. And Mihail was banking on Vanitas' self-hypnosis, getting him to kill Noe. Was banking on it. What's curious to me is, would the shapeless one have really let Noe die? Because wasn't the shapeless one wanting Noe for something? That's one thing where, like, there's a couple little moments, kind of like with another series I've watched recently. There's a couple moments here that I'm like, okay, is that anime only, or is that something in the manga that happens? Which I'm excited. The next few weeks I'm going to find out. I'm going to be reading the manga and discovering that for myself. So that's exciting. I'm excited to go back and kind of see what changed in the adaptation, because I heard through the grapevine in this that this was getting animated right as the chapters were coming out. So that's insane to me. I'm like, oh my god, what? So that always makes me kind of leery. I'm like, could y'all have waited like 6 more months in production before putting this out there, like to let the manga get to a definitive point? When you were storyboarding your episodes, did y'all not do this ahead of time? And some studios don't. Some studios do not storyboard ahead. They just, or they do the first cour and then come back and do the second cour. I'm like, I would have spent a little more time storyboarding to make sure I had enough content, and then went through with the animation, then like getting it down to the wire. But I'm not an animation studio, so I'm not in charge of such things. Whatever. But yeah, and then of course Mihail is like, but you were supposed to... He's like, I don't understand. Why can't you kill him? He tried to suck your blood. You could have killed him. And then Noe's like, wait. I like that Noe finally puts things together and is like, oh, you were trying to get me to kill him? What? And then so that Vanitas would kill Noe and they could be together. And he's like, I just want all 3 of us to be together. And that seems like such simplistic motivation. It seems so simple, but it makes a lot of sense for these characters. It seems like such a simple thing. Like, oh, he just wants the 3 of us to be together. But for Mihail, yeah, that's all it is. He finally found a family and a purpose and was happy with his life. And then it was taken away from him. Sometimes the most strong motivations are the simplest. It's like that's all he wants. And so he's willing to do anything to get it back. And the Shapeless One has made these promises to him, which we'll talk about that. That's so fascinating. It's like, well, what is your deal, Shapeless One? What are we trying to do? I also liked the inner dialogue with Domi. I liked Domi trying to like talk to her true self, her young self. What's interesting is that the younger self of Domi, Louis calls the true self, and that is the version of her right when Louis died. Like, it feels like the last time Domi was actually herself was right before Louis's death. After Louis's death, Domi has tried to be something that she's not. She's tried to be a version of herself that mimics Louis more because she's trying to appease Noe. And Louis's like, you need to just be yourself. Like, quit trying to be something that you're not. You're going to be stronger if you're yourself than trying to put on this facade. And I like that. I like the idea that her powers are similar to Veronica's, where she has the ice and everything. That's really interesting. I like that. It makes me kind of sad because it makes me think that maybe Louis could have had similar powers. Tragedy, right? But I love that she stands up for herself and being like, I will never forgive anybody that will hurt Noe. And she's like, if me sacrificing myself will hurt Noe, I don't want to do that. And I'm like, we talked about this. No, you don't want to do that. That's a bad idea. So I'm glad she kind of comes to that realization. I'm glad she's able to work past what Mihail's trying to do on her. And then the thing about it is, Louis says, look, that book was used to prey on you. There is no curse. No, he's like, your true names have not been touched, which is fascinating. He's like, Mihail used the book to prey on the most fragile and delicate part of you, the most fragile and vulnerable part of you. He used that book to prey on it. But he's like, that should not make you to where you are totally weak and can't do anything, right? We'll get back to that point there. But it's such a good moment. I love Louis just telling her, being like, no, look, you got this, right? This episode had a lot going on in it. I'm like going back through it. And he's like this. And I love Louis saying our true names aren't defiled in the least. I love that line. He's like, no, we're fine. You're going to get through this. He's like, no, I may be dead, but your true name is fine. You've not been turned into a curse bearer. Don't let him do that to you. And I love that the color comes back to her. It's so beautiful in that moment. I want to get a picture of that. And then she doesn't listen to Mihail anymore. It's so good. Like, good for Domi. I'm glad that she breaks out of that curse. Good for her. But then, okay, So what's interesting is he keeps using the book. He's like tampered with all these vampires and like gotten them to become curse bearers. And he keeps using the book over and over again. And now we've established that if you keep using the book, you're going to keep turning into something different that you're not. Makes sense. There's a moment though when the book explodes and his eyes for a second turn back to normal. And then it just like goes out of control. And it's like devouring him, which is interesting. And Vanitas is like, yeah, this place is going to just become a big powder keg. I like that Noé had his Aladdin logic and he's like, okay, we're going to jump under the Ferris wheel and save ourselves. That's fine. And then Domi ends up saving them using the sword. And I love she just bounces on the ice snowflakes to get from place to place. And then I love that Jean is like, she's so beautiful. I'm like, get that Jean and Domi agenda. I'm here for it. I'm here for Jean and Domi, right? They've been together this whole time. Why not make it a ship? Why not make it a ship? I'm here for it. I'm not usually someone into girls' love, but I will support Domi and Jean all day long. So yeah, so Mihail gets stuck in the ice, but it's all a trick to get Vanitas close. Which, that is the one part that is weird to me, is that he lunges at Vanitas to try to kill him. Which, I don't know if that's being yandere or what, but it's like your whole goal is to get Vanitas to join you. So the only thing I can think of is that he was trying, either he was under the corruption of the book and he was acting without thinking, or because his eyes are still purple and everything and he still looks kind of monstrous. And so it could be that he was affected negatively in that moment. Or he was going to try to incapacitate Vanitas by stabbing him and then drag him away and heal him and they'd be together forever later. That could be, right? That could very well be. But then that's when Vanitas thinks about... And I like that there is a trigger there with Vanitas. When Mihail starts screaming about being hurt, Vanitas starts to like have this post-traumatic stress flashback. And we find out now that apparently someone has cursed and taken Luna's name. We don't know who has cursed and taken Luna's name, but somebody has taken Luna's name. And Vanitas, you can hear Vanitas is off to find it. He wants to find the curse bearer that took her name, or their name. And it's like, okay, because that's why they joined the clan, was to get their revenge. What's interesting is that his whole thing here is about getting revenge on the Blue Moon vampire. So that's not necessarily Luna that he's getting revenge on, but the concept of the Blue Moon vampire itself. Like Luna, for all we know, may not be the original Blue Moon vampire. Luna could just be another being that lost their name along the way and became like part of the clan, but is not the original one. We don't know. But I like the idea that Vanitas, what he's getting revenge on is the Blue Moon vampire and the idea of the curse bearer itself and the idea of taking true names. And what he's going to do is go around and heal or save all the vampires and wipe out the curses. And eventually get to where the book is not even needed. There are no curses left, so we don't even need it anymore. That's kind of what Vanitas' main objective is, which would make it to where the Blue Moon vampire wouldn't be needed. And then, do we think that they're going to destroy the book? Possibly. Destroy themselves? More than likely, yes. So, questions for Season 2. Season 2 manga notes. We have Vanitas and Noé on adventures and trying to find out more about the Shapeless One. Ugh, the Shapeless One. I was not expecting the Shapeless One to be tied to Mihail. I thought it was Machina. But that does beg the question, is Machina tied to the Shapeless One, who is tied to Mihail? And is Machina also tied to Ruthven, who seems in opposition of the Shapeless One? I could definitely see Ruthven would have nothing to do with Mihail. Ruthven would have nothing to do with Mihail. He would hate Mihail. He'd want Mihail out of there, right? And then he's tied to the brother of Luca. So yeah, I could see Ruthven and Mihail not getting along at all. What's fascinating about this is we know Ruthven's kind of antagonistic, and the Shapeless One is antagonistic, and Machina is tied to both of them. So potentially, there's like an antagonistic triangle there, but Ruthven and the Shapeless One don't get along. So it's like we have villains from two fronts, which could be very interesting. You have villains with different agendas, but they're both antagonists to Noe and Vanitas together. So that could be interesting. And it could be something where in the future Mihail helps Vanitas and Noe fight Ruthven because they're at odds. But then we have to take on the Shapeless One, and I wouldn't be surprised if Mihail like betrays and allies himself and betrays again. I feel like Mihail's just gonna be a wild card that we can't predict what he's gonna do. Like, it depends on what mood he's in that day, whether he's gonna help them out or not. But yeah, then the Shapeless One shows up just clapping his damn hands with Mihail. He's the kind man that saved him. And we get to see his face without the scary red things. He has a purple eye and a blue eye, which is interesting. So why? Why the purple eye and the blue eye? Why? The purple eye makes sense because we've seen other vampires with purple eyes, but why does he have one blue eye? He's not a member of the Blue Moon Vampire Clan, so we think. So why blue? But we know his eyes turn red. That's the thing. His eyes do turn red like a vampire's. So he is a red moon vampire, but he has a blue and a purple eye. Interesting. The former Marquis de Sade, the Shapeless One. My darling kittens appear to be in your debt. Ooh. Why are you with me, Hale? Monsieur de la Comte. Huh. And he's like, what? He said, someone kind saved me. And of course, Mihail's like, I love anybody who's kind to me. Yeah, as long as you're nice to Mihail, he likes you. So I feel like that could be an interesting character decision where Mihail will help them in the future if they're nice to him. Like, I could feel like you could play that for comedy because we all know Mihail is terrifying and could fly off the handle at any moment. But you could also play that for comedy where, oh, if we're nice to you and give you ice cream, you'll help us defeat the bad guy. Oh, sure. And then he instantly like does a 180 as soon as the battle's over. I could see that. I could definitely see that. And then he's like, did you tell him there's a way to bring the Blue Moon Vampire back to life? And he's like, yes, I did. He says, you said that we may never see you in your present form. So then where have we met before? Oh, and he's like, oh, does the Comte de Saint-Germain ring a bell? And he has the red eye there with the vampire teeth. What? So Comte de Saint-Germain. Does not ring a bell to me, but maybe Vanitas has met them before. Their design is so, like, it's all these colors clashing, and I don't know what to make of it, but he is terrifying. And he's like, it's the name I go by these days. Make sure to get it right next time. And he just looks terrifying with the smile and everything. What the fudge? And they're like, what? And then he talks about dreams. He says the kingdom of dreams lies in ruins. Whether it's a sweet dream like a gentle rocking cradle or a nightmare that gnaws at your soul, a dream is simply a dream. One will always wake to face reality. And then he just like goes, he's like, let's meet again when the time comes, mon chaton. And he just like bends reality to leave through the gate to go back to the artless world. And you as well, human heir to the blue, the most beautiful being in the world. So that's interesting. What's fascinating is the Shapeless One seems to be like a devout follower of Luna. I'm wondering if I wonder if the person that let Vanitas, but I don't know, he's a vampire, so he can't really be the human that let them stay in his house. But what's interesting is the Shapeless One seems to be a follower of the Blue Moon Vampire, or like is devoted and obsessed with it. So I don't think that the Shapeless One is responsible for the Blue Moon Vampire getting their name stolen. I think that's Ruthven and his people. But that does put the Shapeless One and Ruthven at odds. But the fact that the Shapeless One is willing to manipulate Mihail to try to get... here's my thing. I feel like Ruthven wants the Blue Moon Vampire clan gone, or wants their power to curse others, to be able to control it, right? Whereas I think that Shapeless One, they want the Blue Moon Vampire clan to stay established and alive. Both of these things are in conflict with Vanitas. Vanitas does not want the Blue Moon Vampire clan to stay present. He's like, no. We need to get rid of the Blue Moon Vampire clan because they can cause curses. They can cause curse users. This is overall a problem. We need to get rid of them. We need to stop tampering with the formula of another world. Let's stop that. And he's also against Ruthven because they want the power that he has. So he's like, no, you don't get it either because you'll use it for nefarious means. So in both of these cases, you have two different sides that are at odds with each other, but both sides that are at odds with each other are also at odds with Vanitas. So it creates this interesting triangle, and I'm excited by that. I'm like, yes, let's do this. The Shapeless One is just all over the place. Their character design has like all these colors, these golds, these purples, these blues. It's just like, what the fudge? So Amelia wakes them up. I am super, and we see Myrrh again. I thought the Shapeless One was Myrrh. Also, the Shapeless One can take different shapes, whatever. I thought the Shapeless One was Myrrh, but whatever. Maybe they're not. What I do love is that Vanitas didn't run away. I thought when Amelia woke Noé up, that Noé was going to wake up, Vanitas was going to have left, and went on another adventure by himself. That's what I was afraid of. I was afraid of that happening, right? Luckily, that is not the case. We actually get Vanitas just on the rooftop waiting. And Amelia, she is like the best wing woman. She's like, oh, Lady Dominique and Mademoiselle Jeanne are having a talk down in the dining room. It's private. You don't need to be there. They're getting their stuff worked out. But I've got food for you and Vanitas upstairs if you want. I'm like, yes, Amelia, be the ultimate wing woman, please. And here's the thing. If y'all don't want to ship Vanitas and Jean and Noé, that's fine. If you don't want to ship Vanitas and Noé, that's fine. But there's just so much in this, like, there was so much in the opening scene of the episode that was like, okay, that's shippable. But the fact of how timid Noé is around Vanitas here, where he's like trying not to step on any toes, he's like, hey, like, I guess you're okay. Like, he's like trying to figure out what to say exactly. It's like a crush. It's like when you try to talk to a crush and you don't know exactly what to say. You're like, I don't want to make things worse or make you run away. It's very shippable. And them on the rooftop and this vulnerable, and Vanitas looking at Noé for the first time, and he just looks so vulnerable. And that's not a look Noé's ever seen of him before. And it's like, yes, show that soft side to Noé, Vanitas. Go ahead and do it. I also love Noé, of course, has his cardigan on, his Mr. Rogers sweater, of course. And he's just like, come on, Vanitas, let's go in. But also, before, Noé would have been like, I'm going to keep pressing you for answers until you give me what I want. And now he's like, look, if you don't want to talk to me, you're hurt. It's fine. You don't have to say anything. And that's when Vanitas is like, look, I've been waiting for him to come here. I was not expecting Mihail to show up again. And Noé's like, what the fudge? He's like, just don't do anything. Just stand there. And Noé does. He does stand there and trust Vanitas in this moment. And that's when Mihail's like, was it my fault that our father died? I don't remember the day he died or that I lost my arm. Is it my fault? And Vanitas is like, no, I killed him. I killed them. So we find out the truth of what happened, and I'm hoping the manga gives us some insight. I'm hoping we get to see some of this. But the day that someone stole Luna's true name, Luna was becoming a curse, and then I'm assuming went to attack Mihail, and Vanitas, like, the only way I could stop them was to kill them, and that's when I became part of the Blue Moon clan. So we don't get to see exactly what happened, but I'm like, and so we see Vanitas's hand has not been completely taken over by the Blue Moon clan mark. It must be like at least up to the wrist because they've got bandages there. That's why I joined the Blue Moon clan, was to save you, Mihail, and kill Luna with their own power. And there we go. That's the truth of it. And he's like, I cure curse bearers in order to find clues to who or what stole Luna's true name. So all of this has been because it's almost like Vanitas, out of respect for Luna, is like, I want to figure out what happened to you, who did this to you, what caused all of this, because we did have a pretty good life up until then. And out of respect for Luna, Vanitas like, I'm going to find out who took your name. And that's like everything leading up throughout the season has been in service of finding out more about that. It's why Vanitas calls the book Luna, all of that. It's so good. He's like, I've got to find out. I'll never forgive the vampire of the Blue Moon. It's such a roundabout way, because he's like, I'm never going to forgive this vampire for giving me this home and this family. And then because of their powers to create the curses to begin with, that life was taken away from me, and I can't forgive it for existing. All makes sense now. Yes, indeed. I'll destroy every last trace. And then he's like, that's why I can't go with you. And then Vanitas like, the dead don't return. He's like, at least not the way they should, right? We talked about Full Metal Alchemist last week. And then, yeah, they're talking about the books. The books can rewrite our very being. The more we use them, the more it changes us. Noe's like, wait, what? Wait, what's happening? Why are you getting changed? Excuse me? We'll gradually turn into something other than ourselves. And Mihail's like, you saw that happen. And Mihail tries to frame it as, I'm the only one who can understand the pain when you go through it. Like, you and I are both the only ones who know what this pain is like, so let's be together. And then when the time comes, we can kill each other if it gets to that point. Which is a pretty disturbing concept in itself. But I like that Vanitas is like, look, I appreciate the sentiment, but if that time comes, I want to choose how I go out, and I want this guy right here to do it. It's the most disturbing form of romance, but I mean, it's literally Modazushi. It's romantic to a core. And I want to be human until the end. And he's like, I don't need you if I choose how to die. And we see him in like, no way. And he's like, if I'm to be killed, I choose him. And Noe's like, what? Oh my God. And then just Vanitas seeming so stern. And of course Noe's like about to cry because he's like, you mean, okay. And we know supposedly in the story, Noe does kill him. So down the line, it's going to happen. So when are we going to get to that point? Now it's like, I'm excited for the manga and I'm excited for the story to continue, but it's also really freaking sad because if we know down the line that Noe is going to kill Vanitas, that's so heartbreaking. I'm not ready for that. Creator, I'm not ready for that. Why you do this? And then Mihail just crying. I also like Mihail's just like, he cries and he's like, okay, I'm fine. He whines and cries like a little kid and then he's like, fine, I'm okay. That part got me. I was like, no, that's fair. That's really fitting. I like that. And then he's like, fine, I'm going to bring father back by myself. And then Vanitas is like, what's the shapeless one up to? And he's like, I don't know and I don't care. So Mihail's going to be off doing his own thing, trying to bring the shapeless one back. Mihail's going to be off doing his own thing, trying to bring the Blue Moon vampire Luna back. The shapeless one is behind the scenes doing God knows what. Ruthven clearly has an agenda of their own. So we have all these antagonistic pieces on the board moving around. Nania is off somewhere, right? Nania is off somewhere. We've not dealt with them entirely. They're off dealing with this. Machina's off somewhere. So again, then we have the Chaucers. So it's just like all the pieces are still scattered across the board. It's just, what do we do with them now, right? there is one thing I should tell you, and that's Domi didn't kill anyone. I like that Mihail gave this one piece of information, being like, fine, I'll leave you a parting gift. Domi didn't kill anybody, so don't let her get in trouble. And he's like, I like her. She was nice to me. I feel like Mihail could be such a wild card and could be a character that, like, just throughout the story, like, comes and goes and either helps or hurts Vanitas. And then, of course, Noe has to lean up against him. Of course they do. I love it. Just for a little while, was it a good idea to let him go? You must have 1,000 things you want to ask him. And Noe's like, but I want to talk to you. Ah! Look at that blush! Look at that blush on his face! Like, he's so humbled. He's like, you think that much about me? It's like, oh my god. Shut up, you two. And Vanitas, like, tries to think of something sarcastic to say, and he's like, fine, I can't. Like, I'll let you have this. I'll let you have this moment. I was rash in so many ways. Or maybe the other way around. I took too long and didn't do well enough. And Noe's like, why are you acting so humble? He's like, I've given up on trying to make you do what I want. And I love Noe's like, you really? You mean I can do whatever I want around you? What? Oh my god. Freaking buttery sugar diabetes giving. Oh my god. And so they're like, well, what do we do now? And he's like, nothing is going to change. I'm going to look into Saint Germain, and then I'm a doctor, like his dad. I'm going to keep treating curse bearers. I'm going to take my vengeance by saving the vampires. And Noe is just smiling like, all right, nothing changes for me either. I'm going to keep following you and see what this is all about. And then, of course, Johan and Dante and Richie show up. And they're like, Orlok is blowing a gasket. He wants to see you all. And then Amelia's like, look, the sun came out. It's like, these two boobs. And yep. And then, of course, he, like, looks up to Noe. And Noe's like, the sunlight shining down on him. As he's, like, reaching out his hand to Vanitas. Like, such a nice, stark contrast to the two of them. Like, back from the beginning when they were at each other's throats. Like, so good. So good! And then that's it. I love it. I just, these two together. It's so good. So yeah, I really enjoyed this season of the case study of Vanitas. It's so good. This story is like, it's a romance, it's got action, it's got vampires, it's got mystery, and the thing that I like the most is that we didn't solve all the mysteries in this episode. I was afraid that they were going to try to wrap up everything in one, like, set of episodes, this episode and the last episode, and give us nothing left to look forward to, but that's not the case at all. There's so much that we have not even, like, scratched the surface on, like Luca and his family, the sister, like, the shapeless one, Ruth Finn and all that. We've barely begun with this story, so I'm really excited about that, but I want to check out the manga the next 2 weeks, catch up with that, see if anything changed or what I missed, and then we'll just wait until season 2 comes out. It may be a while, but it's on my radar, it's on my watch list. I'm going to be really excited when it comes out because I love Noe and Vanitas, and I want more adventures with them. And Roland and Olivier, all those guys. I want more adventures with them, and I'm really excited. So I'm also excited to hear your thoughts down below. I hope you all enjoyed this last season finale and the reaction and discussion. I'm curious to hear your thoughts down below. But next week, I'll be looking at the first core manga, and the following week, I'll be looking at the second core. So in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back very soon with more of the case study of Vanitas. Bye.